how happy is the blameless vessel's lot. The world forgetting by the world forgot. Eternal sunshine of a spotless mind. Each prayer accepted, and each wish resigned.
Is there any risk of brain damage?
Well, technically speaking, the procedure is brain damage, but it's on a par with a night of heavy drinking. Nothing you'll miss.
It's time for a little something I forget. And my notes say I'm Professor Robert E.G. Black, and I'm here with Austin Pryor from Malkovich, Minute, and it's time to discuss Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But they're erasing me. I have no memory of any of this, and I've heard you don't have any notes, so this is going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll go from your notes, and
oh yeah, you can open my notes if you want.
Oh yeah, and my familiarity with this movie should see me through.
Yeah. We are in minute 27 of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Joel has just arrived at Lacuna for the first time. Mary gave him a form to fill out at the end of the previous minute, even though he's just there to have a conversation with Dr. Mierzwiak. And she's in the middle of telling him that.
I'd like to have a conversation about erasing memories with Dr. Mierzwiak.
Yeah. Well, Joel would. And Joel, as he walks away, is like, really? She's like, thank you. And she goes back to labeling envelopes, and Joel goes to sit down. He says, great. And he stops, says, I don't have a pen. She says, there's a pen right there. And there's a pen attached to the top of the clipboard, of course. Off screen, Mary's already answering another phone call. Good morning, Lacuna. And Joel sits down. He sits on the couch. There's another guy there who's still filling out a form, but that guy looks very comfortable. He's leaning back. Joel sits like on the front of it, leaning. It is not a good way to, no, he's not comfortable.
Yeah. The guy there going to get something erased, and he's happy with it. He's made peace with it, and he knows what he's there for.
Right.
And Joel, not only is this just his personality anyway, and he's just kind of an awkward, nervous soul, but also, he's just dying to know what the hell this note means. And it's like both the character and the context are perfect for this perch here.
Meanwhile, the context, the office, is playing into that like mundane nature of it.
Yeah.
Because it's just a doctor's office. Mary in the background is like, oh yeah, that offer? That's done now. That expired after the new year. Like they had some discount going on.
Okay. So the discount, do you now accept that actually, they do charge for this service? She doesn't say it's a discount.
I misspoke.
She said it's an offer.
The offer was that they would erase maybe two people from you in one go.
Get out of town.
You want to erase your whole family? We'll do it.
They're a business. They charge.
It was in the fall.
Yeah.
This is in the US. So this is like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Now you're sick of your family. You want all of them gone? We'll do it. Usually they focus on one memory. It's one night. This one's going to take a little longer and probably takes a stronger drug, and they're there for like a whole day.
So you're sticking to your theory.
I'm sticking to it. It can't cost money.
No, that's not. I would argue that just because something presents a difficulty doesn't mean it can't be done. They're like when
Maybe
you
get
say
sponsors.
Well, like you could just have. I'd say just this is you could have like an arrangement where it's paid for in advance or it's paid for in installments, and if the person looks it up, there is like. Okay, it does come down to the fact that people should know they erase something.
Yeah, they would have to hack your bank account and charge you like $10 a month retroactively. For
you could consent beforehand.
No, but if you look at your bank statement and see some weird charge from some company, you're going to look up what it is. You have to know what charged you money.
No, sure.
So they'd have to hide it in tiny payments. You're already done.
They wouldn't necessarily have to hide it. They just would. It would create that difficulty for them, and they will have to have a system to deal with that difficulty. But I would say it would be a legal apparatus that would just be like, look, here's the paper you signed. Here's the thing. Erasing memories exist. That is one of the services provided by this.
I'm gonna have to get a lawyer on this show.
We're not gonna. Yeah, get a lawyer.
If you don't remember signing a consent form, does it count?
Yeah. Well, to cover themselves legally. And to, expand reliably as a business.
Oh, they do an audio recording of them saying their consent.
Yeah.
Part of the recording.
But it was recorded under duress and is not used for the customer. It's not usually accessible to the customer. But yeah, like it is a hole in their plan. But I would not go as far as to say they don't charge, because there's none of this.
It's
This
one of the
whole thing
questions
makes
on the form is how much attention do you pay to your bank statement?
yeah.
Just asking for a friend.
Oh man, if they were doing this to me, I would never catch it. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh, some payment, some service. Oh, what was that? Oh, I'll look into it, and I don't.
I'll just hook it to my PayPal and I won't know
Yeah.
because all of my online things go through there because it's easier.
Yeah, but this was before. I mean, I'm sure PayPal existed in some form, but not integrated into our lives as much back then.
No, they don't even have cell phones.
No. Yeah, this is like one of those things that like the US versus Europe is like, in general, US is like kind of ahead of us in technology, but there are some weird surprises about that go the opposite way, you know?
Huh.
And there's also this kind of lag between the adoption of a new technology and screenwriters integrating that technology into movies. And I think that mobile phones in particular took a while because they create problems for screenwriters where, oh, now I have to think about why they weren't able to just call and sort this out or whatever, you know? Because when this movie came out in 04 or 05, it was 05, wasn't it?
04.
Okay. So in Ireland, everybody had mobiles at that point. And I think in the US, it wasn't quite like that. People were still using their landlines more.
Yeah.
And I think it's because landlines were so crazy cheap and had been kind of just really even more kind of deeply integrated into the culture than they had in Europe. So like we would always just see Americans with like watching movies. It's like, do they have like different phone lines in every room? Do they have like, you know, it's like multiple phones, multiple phone numbers in a house, hands-free and kind of portable phones before we did, you know, and even just the long cords where you could walk around the kitchen doing stuff. We'd just be watching this on America, and we eventually got a long cord on our home phone in the kitchen, and it felt very American, you know. And I always think of Marie in Breaking Bad when she's like walking around the kitchen because she's got this fancy ass phone that has like a microphone array so that it can filter out background noises and follow you around the kitchen and all that. So I think just because landline phones were so cheap for local calls in the States, or free even, they just seem to be so kind of ingrained in the culture that there was a much longer resistance against mobiles. Everybody just got mobiles. You know, people still had landlines and stuff. Like my parents had them, but like I don't. I was like, why would I have a landline?
Right.
And just other things that like when I went to the States as a teenager, I was just like, they don't have widescreen TVs yet? You know, like our TVs all went to widescreen before we went to HD, which caused us awful problems with aspect ratios that would upset a guy like me and a few other people. Yeah, so it's just this weird thing about technology, the way, you know, like obviously, you know, it's the US, they're the big global superpower and way ahead of us on all these things. But like, yeah, like Americans had kind of like, I'd talk to Americans and kind of say like, oh, just text her, you know?
Yeah.
Text? What? It was like Americans had never heard of text messages because it existed on the phones, but it just wasn't kind of promoted by the carriers or whatever. So it's just like something.
Well, and you paid per text.
Yeah. And
when you did have a cell phone.
Yeah. And like we just didn't, you know, we just took to texts more quickly than the US for whatever kind of cultural reasons, you know? Yeah, so when this movie came out, there was no mention of mobiles, but in Ireland, we were all, to see this movie, I had to turn off my mobile, you know?
Yeah. So we go from him perched on the edge of the seat, filling out his form, to Mary coming out of the side of her office next to some files. Says Mr. Barish, and she waits. He comes into frame and she leads him down the hallway. She's being nice. How are we today? Not too good, actually. And they get to the corner.
She didn't actually want to know how you are. She just wanted to stay. She was just being nice.
But he, of course, answers. And then Stan proving, I think we said a couple episodes ago that he was the professional one of the group.
Yeah.
But he's the one who jumps out and scares her in the hallway.
Even professionals can be tripped up by love.
Yeah.
He's just trying to be flirty, doing the boo.
If she had been walking back the hallway by herself, it might have been funny.
Yeah.
But
yeah, she was just trying to be professional, and it was just, but I mean, that's such good. It's so perfect. The awkwardness of that is just a perfect kind of expression of it just kind of establishes these characters as that bit younger, shows that he's kind of more interested in her, and just perfectly captures that horrible awkwardness of playing a small prank, taking a small social risk, and having it thrown back in your face.
Yeah. To which he has to say sorry,
Sorry,
4 times.
sorry, and just make himself
Sorry,
small.
I was just sorry.
And he's still
She's like,
walking
I'm
off.
working.
Yeah, he's still
Uh-huh.
walking off, saying sorry when nobody else is. When the other two are just gone. It's great. Is that in the script? The jumping out and saying boo?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it did strike me as a kind of a Charlie Kaufman feeling thing. The awkwardness, the aftermath of it felt very Kaufman. Yeah.
Some of these scenes at this part of the story are hard to find in the script sometimes because they moved some stuff early that was going to be later.
Yeah.
And this gets mixed together with, as soon as he hears Mary's name, he's hearing Stan from later saying Mary's coming over tonight.
Yes.
And it's like this weird mix of scenes that the movie doesn't quite go into just yet.
Mm-hmm.
We get a little overlap of dialogue, but that's all.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. And then we go to Mierzwiak's office, and Mary goes in. She gets really close to him, hand on his shoulder, leans in to put a file in front of him. He already is holding the notification card that Joel brought. So I guess she's not handing him Joel's information.
Yeah, well, I would think that because of the sensitivity of this issue, Mary probably came in with that card earlier.
Yeah, when Joel was filling out the form.
Yeah, and then like just is now just handing him the form because and looking at the order of events, it's kind of hard to see when he would have. Oh, does he walk? Sorry, in the last minute, does he say, I received this, I got this or something?
He doesn't say it, but he was holding it.
He was holding it. Okay. Yeah. So
he was holding it when he was at the front desk.
Yeah.
So probably she got it from him, took it to Mierzwiak, and then once Mierzwiak was ready, she came back out. She's like, "Here, doctor," and she lingers.
Mm-hmm.
Stays standing there because she likes this stuff and this guy.
Yeah, and she's not only, in love with Mierzwiak, but she kind of is a super fan of him and loves thinking about the thing and wants to talk to the customers more and kind of wants to be just involved more and stuff. And she's like answering the question along with Dr. Mierzwiak, like when Joel says it's got to be a prank, and she's like, no, it isn't. It isn't. She's like repeating it really like, I don't know, just kind of like almost like a child joining in the conversation, just like, no, it isn't.
She knows what's what. She's going to say it. And she likes being there.
She likes being there. She wants to be involved.
Which is really makes the end of the movie a bit sadder, actually.
Oh, yeah, because she's not just...
She won't be able to work there anymore. She won't be able to do this, and she liked it.
She liked it, but, I mean, she became totally disillusioned with it, so she wouldn't want to do it anymore. Yeah. But it's like the kind of romantic rejection and the disillusionment and the crumbling of her worldview all came at once because they were tied together.
Yeah.
With just good drama. And that's why, she wouldn't want to come back to this job anyway.
No.
But it does mean that she's got a hole to fill now.
She could find something good to do if she wants to really. She could go back to school, become a therapist or something. She could help people in a different way.
Yeah. And if this movie was more concerned with the sci-fi aspect, then this technology kind of wouldn't exist in isolation.
Right.
It would be that there would be a whole raft of neurological treatments based on whatever key technological discoveries and breakthroughs. Yeah.
Once all that information gets sent back out.
Yeah, that there would be other forms of therapy using this same kind of technology that didn't involve destroying cognitive memory, but maybe just involved treating conditions or restructuring the brain to treat neurological disorders or whatever.
Use it like you do hypnotherapy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Go into your memory and deal with it.
Yeah, like, if you can break down cognitive memories and emotional cores of memories, all you're doing is like systematically targeting neurons and breaking them down, targeting synaptic connections and breaking them down. And that would have all sorts of other applications. And again, this movie doesn't care about that, and I'm glad it doesn't. But if we were to kind of read reality into it, there'd be lots of ways that she could kind of still scratch the itch of being fascinated by all this stuff. And
then they could charge money for it.
There you go.
Solve for capitalism.
They charge money for this.
Yeah. Mierzwiak's nice, man. He's like, thank you for the card. And he's like, you should not have seen this. I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
And camera goes over to Joel. He leans forward over the desk. He's like, this is a hoax, right? I mean, this is Clem. Mierzwiak cuts in. I assure you, no. This one, Mary's like, no.
Yeah.
And Mierzwiak and Joel both turn to look at her, and she's like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
She keeps answering.
I'm part of this. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm in. And then now finally she does leave after looking toward Mierzwiak one more time. But then we watch as she's walking away. Not only does Mierzwiak watch her leave, she stops before actually exiting the room and looks back and smiles.
Yeah.
So they got a whole flirty thing going on again, and Mierzwiak is in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. She walks out of the room backwards in order to face him. She is still technically still moving.
Yeah, she turns around at the door.
Yeah. And she's kind of futzing with the door. And it's just like, yeah, it's a completely improbable way to exit a room unless you're in love with the occupant. Yeah.
Exactly. And then Joel leans forward again. He's like, there's no such thing as this.
Yeah. Which
he's insistent.
Which just immediately I have to connect it to Malkovich. You know, there's no such thing as a portal that leads you inside somebody else's mind. It's like, yes, there is. Okay, I want to try it. In other words, the script is just like, we are going to tick the box that says, we acknowledge that if this happened, nobody would believe it. Come along with us, audience. This person is going to say, I don't believe it. We're not going to have them remain in disbelief for a realistic amount of time because that would be boring.
Right.
Let's just get it over with and move on. And it's exactly the same thing he did. He had a wild and crazy premise in each movie. And in each movie, he wanted to get on with what that says about people and emotions and memories and exploring themes, and none of what it says about the rules of a science fiction world.
Right. He plays the conversation just enough so that we understand they talked about it.
Yeah.
Like we cut to next minute, we go with Joel talking to Carrie and Rob about this. And then he comes right back to Lacuna.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we need to know is, yes, he did contemplate it and then he went and did it.
Don't worry,
It's the
audience.
doing it.
He said the thing.
Yeah. Because otherwise he's going to spend the whole movie trying to figure out, how do I prove this works before I go in for the procedure?
Yeah.
I need to have you erase a single thing that I know happened and that there's evidence of.
Yeah.
So I can test it.
Or at least look it up and read the research papers or whatever that led to it. Yeah. It's not like it's
look up Mierzwiak's publication.
Either way, not exactly gripping cinema.
Well, with the right director.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would watch it. You would.
The rest of the film is just Joel and
we
looking
would
at
be on this
archives
podcast. So
scientific publications. Yeah, the minute ends with Mierzwiak starting to explain. He says, look, our files, he's going to say, are confidential. And then he's going to explain to him, Mr. Krasinski was not happy. But we'll get to that next minute.
If you discovered that a significant other had erased you, do you think that you would want to erase them back?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Especially not in the stage where Joel is right now. He is still in heartbreak and pain.
Yeah, he's in fact in that position of not really knowing where he stands and not having had the closure.
Yeah.
And just be it's like, I don't even know what's going on. She won't talk to me. So it's like, obviously he knows she's moved on and she's not interested, but she's also acting very out of character.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just have a big blow up fight with me and go. She just stopped and is suddenly talking to this guy, this really young guy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting because it also paints Lacuna in a negative. If you can't already paint him in a negative light, this would.
Yeah.
Is it they don't erase Joel's memory necessarily for his good.
Yes.
He's not in a position right now to decide that.
Yeah.
They're doing it to protect them because he found out.
Yes, that is a very good. Yeah, and they kind of fast track the service because of that, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He comes back and demands it, and they're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, under these special
circumstances.
circumstances. Exactly. Yeah.
Which also is nice of them, but it's nice of them because it protects them.
Covers their asses, yeah. But which does again lead us to the question of, well, do they have FDA approval or?
If no one can remember what they do, and it doesn't cost anyone any money,
it does.
Then they could just abduct random people and erase their memories at any time.
For what? Why would they do it if it doesn't make them any money?
To manipulate the world.
Oh, it's run.
It's the same
by
as
the
Westworld,
same corporation that made Westworld.
Yeah.
Is it their early?
Right. Westworld is where they get they're recording everyone's brains and then they're going to stick them in these people they erase.
But also they're
not going to have robots. They're going to have programmed humans.
Also, they're every time they put this thing, they like deleting your memories is just a way to kind of get you into the chair.
Yeah.
Because what they're actually doing is absorbing all of your memories and
They're taking all your memories for
modeling your
later.
entire
Mhm.
brain, because that's the data they feed into their, replicant factory, because it's Blade Runner as well. It's
Well, and it's
Tyrell
Dark City
and
where they just
Westworld and
inject the
Dark
memories in
City.
the
Good
morning.
stuff.
hmm And if they feel like it, they can make an entire town think they're in a time loop, or well, one guy think he's in a time loop by erasing everyone else's memories every day.
Oh, beautiful. And resetting the weather and all of the people's
They just hope he doesn't
positions.
notice the weather.
Yeah.
Of course, he's a weatherman. So he
Yeah.
he's like, why is it summer now? What is happening?
So,
Like, no, it's a time loop, we swear.
so is that why we're all here? We're here as guests on your existential trilogy so that we'll eventually happen upon developing all of the ideas to create the connective
Oh, yeah. The
tissues for
Zoom
the
is recording your brain waves
right,
now.
right. But we're also just creating all of the connective tissue among these three films to make them part of a shared cinematic universe for your pleasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
I just have to write some androids into my time loop story and it'll be
Great.
perfect.
The whole thing is about screenwriting.
Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry, the question I asked was like, would you want to erase somebody if they had erased you? And I kind of think, yeah, I think like I would answer the same, that no, I wouldn't. But I still kind of feel that it rings true with the feeling of rejection. Because that awful feeling of you're not only hurt by the rejection, but you're so jealous by how seemingly easily the other person has moved on.
Yep.
And a lot of movies deal with that, and songs kind of dwell on that. And it's like, yeah, just to like, it always looks so easy. And of course, it's probably not. I mean, I'm sure it is for some people who were like less invested in the relationship. But it's like, yeah, watching somebody kind of thrive and go on without you. And so this is like the ultimate version of that. It's like watching somebody like literally not even remember you, because that's how little they
don't
need
have
you.
room for you in their brain anymore.
Yeah, and just watching somebody not need you in such a kind of profound way. And I can very much see the kind of leaning into your worst instincts and leaning into your kind of most petty, protecting your heart kind of feelings of saying, well, if she doesn't need me, I don't need her. I'll show her, I'll delete her. And of course, the kind of extra pathetic layer of doing it second is that you can't hurt her the way she hurt you.
Right,
because she doesn't remember. So she can't find a note that says you deleted her. She can't sit there going, well, why is Joel not talking to me? Because she doesn't know who the fuck Joel is. So like, that's what makes his gesture all the more pathetic. But people rejected in love make pathetic gestures all the time. So it's perfect for the story. You know what I mean?
True. It's interesting now because last week I talked a lot about the character of Naomi, who we barely hear about in the movie.
Yeah.
They filmed scenes with her.
Oh, really?
She's a bigger part of the script.
I knew her voice was on the
she
phone.
was played
in the
by
movie, but...
Ellen Pompeo, who's in Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, okay.
And it changes the dynamic as well of what Joel is going through right now. Because essentially, they have that night where he calls Clem a wino.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last time he sees Clem. He thinks she cheated on him that night. Some point in the next few days is this stuff we've seen in the last few scenes with him and Rob and Carrie talking about her, him going to the bookstore to try to talk to her.
Yeah.
She had her memories erased. The night before he gets erased, assuming he can remember it accurately, he went and had a one-night stand with Naomi.
Wow.
That's how the movie starts, is him talking about that.
Yeah.
The script starts that way. In the movie, all he's saying is maybe I should get back together with Naomi. And also in the script, before he calls Clem, when he gets back to his apartment after their second meet cute, them hanging out.
Yes.
He calls Naomi first.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
And they cut that.
Yeah. Which is a good cut.
Yeah, because it really complicates whatever he's going through right now. Is he that heartbroken if he's doing the vengeful, I'm going to go have sex with my ex? And
yeah.
Or is that more of the sad part of it? And it gives you way too much to think about in the reality where we shouldn't be spending that much time in the reality.
Yeah, and it's too early in the movie to be adding kind of so much complexity. If you're doing it as like a long-running TV series, you add wrinkles like that for the drama and to flesh out the characters and to say, well, like, we're not portraying anybody as like morally straightforward or simple and stuff like that. So like that makes sense. And you just
Yeah, you can have a whole episode where he gets back together with Naomi for a night and then realizes that doesn't work.
Yes, that can have its own arc.
Next episode.
But if you're doing a feature film where at this point we really want to have Joel be our point of view character because he's the one who's surprised, so that he's like standing in for the audience, he's discovering about erasure at the same rate that we are, and that's the like informational kind of technical part of it. And then just emotionally, we're going on this journey with him, and we see this, you know, awful hurtful scene of Clem just blanking him and turning around to talk to Patrick.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that would really just put such wrinkles on that, you know, and it just wouldn't be as sympathetic.
I mean, already we're half an hour in before reality is really going to separate from what we're watching.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we didn't need more in that reality. We need to get to this part because that's the point of the movie is what happens in this part.
Also, like if a guy has that many options, it's hard to feel too heartbroken for how heartbroken he is. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
It's like if you're watching this movie and you've just been dumped by your significant other, and then you're trying to connect with this protagonist, and he's like, well, he's got 2 girlfriends, and he's like, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, he's got that ex.
Yeah, it's like, yeah,
with, whatever.
You got options.
No big
I don't
deal.
care. Yeah,
that's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Naomi scenes are interesting, but I'm glad they are cut because there's also like they have a conversation before he goes to the beach. That is when he meets Clem. He still lives with Naomi.
Yeah.
That's acknowledged briefly in dialogue.
It is. Yeah.
But it's good that we do not see it.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we need to understand that that was something that could be ended and was kind of done already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's even more problematic.
Absolutely.
This movie's already got some problems. So.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Let me rephrase. The situation within the movie has problems. I don't think the movie has problems.
Yeah, maybe the age difference is a bit of an issue. It's not a showstopper, but you know, they're both adults and everything, but it's just like, yeah, it's a bit much. That's kind of me for minute 27.
You don't want to have another rant about AI?
The thing you got to understand. No.
So the thing about the director's cut of Blade Runner.
Is... No, the final cut. That's the real one.
I don't even remember which is the cut I like the most. I have the box set that has like 5, and I don't know, one of them.
What I tell people to watch as the one, if you've never seen it before, I generally say for most films, I would generally say original theatrical is always the way to go. For Blade Runner, I say if you just want to watch it as a movie and worry about the versions and stuff later, I actually recommend the final cut usually, because the theatrical cut in the case of Blade Runner is pretty rough going because you got the bad voiceover and stuff.
It's very robotic, that voiceover.
Yes. But to my mind, there's no one. I don't like. They're all like there's a very clear answer to me about what the perfect cut of that movie would be, and it would be the final cut, but without the heavy-handed, without that stupid unicorn dream and the heavy-handed "too bad she'll never live," you know, the way it basically says he's a replicant at the end.
Yeah.
I think that's dumb. But then even with that, you're still left with this kind of weird rapey scene between the two of them, this really toxic masculinity, toxic sexuality kind of thing that I don't think...
It's how he's programmed.
Yeah, there you go. I don't think that scene does what Ridley Scott or anybody else thinks it's meant to do. It's just... Even before I was like a super woke lefty asshole, I was always really uncomfortable with that. And I would just be kind of jumping through hoops in my mind about like trying to justify it and say, well, what's he trying to say here? And it's almost like Deckard is trying to confront Rachel with her own desire is like the most charitable reading of it. But he still has no right to do that. And there's a way of doing that. And there's even a manly kind of, you know, slightly macho way of doing it where it's just like where you like take a stand and say, no, I demand that you face up to this.
That's part of why I kind of like the theatrical cut. I just wish we had a different recording of the voiceover, because the voiceover has like no energy to it.
Yeah.
And I like that it plays as this film noir.
Yeah.
A film noir kind of feeling to it would make that scene, it wouldn't be good, but you'd understand what it's doing, because that is a common way of playing the male-female relationship.
It's very noir. And the noir aspects of Blade Runner don't, like, they're there, and obviously film analysis and film criticism has pointed them out for so many years that anybody who knows anything about film will know them. But they're not really on the surface maybe the first time you watch it, because you're just in the science fiction setting. And if you don't have the voiceover as well. And the other big thing is that Harrison Ford just didn't want to become the actor who wears a hat, because he had just done Indiana Jones. And that's why he doesn't wear the fedora. Harrison Ford said no, and I'm glad he didn't, because it's much more timeless now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hit the genre of noir as hard as it was originally planned to. But then on the flip side, the voiceover wasn't originally planned, as far as I know. It was forced on them by the studio, and that's why it's recorded with such. I walked downtown. I had to see the guy with the ball. The language they spoke was blah, blah, blah. So just kill me.
Yeah. I think the content of the voiceover is okay.
It's okay, yeah.
Delivery
It's just
does
the delivery.
not work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And like Blade Runner is just kind of this triumph of the craft of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I actually think that viewed through that lens, it's just stunning, and it's made this huge contribution. But viewed through the lens of like the art of storytelling, I'm not sure it really holds up.
Well, right. If you can make tiny little changes and it feels like a different story, maybe your backbone wasn't strong enough.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. I don't know. It ends up kind of losing its way narratively. And I think the whole replicant idea just muddies the water so much. And it's kind of appropriate that there's no one perfect version of it, because it's just kind of an imperfect film, and it will always the version of Blade Runner that each one of us carries in our head is kind of better than any version of the movie.
Right, because we remember the parts we like.
Yeah. And the parts that were just burnt into us as kids.
And if we've watched all the versions, we can remember different
exactly. And
versions,
remember, you just jumble them up and go to Lacuna and get your memory erased of specific scenes, so that you can
of each version. Yeah.
And
then you just watch your own edit that you've put together.
Exactly.
And it's the movie you want.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And if Malkovich is inside your head,
no, if you're inside Malkovich's head,
then you'd make a different version of Blade Runner, and you could talk about that where?
Over at malkovichminute.net. Malkovichminute.net for all your Being John Malkovich minute by minute podcasting needs.
Thank you for listening. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Minute is just one part of an existential trilogy of podcasts. Tune in every Tuesday for Minutia Ex Machina, every Wednesday for the Groundhog Day Project Minute by Minute, and every Thursday for more Eternal Sunshine. And you can follow all 3 shows on one feed. Just search an existential trilogy. Follow this show on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Spotless Minute. This has been a production of Lemming Drops Studio. You can find links to more at lemmingdrops.com, or join the Facebook group Lemming Drops Studio Tour. Also, you can support all my shows at patreon.com/lemmingdrops. Until next time.
This is it, Joel. It's gonna be gone soon.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know.
What do we do?
Look, we're going off. Enjoy it.
Can you hear me? I don't want this anymore. I want to go